Hello, welcome back to the Motorcycle Fixer channel. This afternoon I'm going to be looking at this Stomp 140 that I've been working on. If you watched the last video, there are a couple of jobs that need doing before I can give it back to the customer. First job we're going to try and tackle is there is a broken bolt in the back of the subframe, or where the subframe bolts on, I should say. So that bolt there. The problem is that it felt, when I tried to take the bolt out, I think somebody's cross-threaded it. It didn't feel like it was stuck. It felt like it was just, and the bolt wasn't too rusted anyway. So I've got to try and drill that out now. But because it was so tight in there and cross-threaded, I don't think it's going to come out easily. So this might work, this might not. I do have some left-handed drills, but as I said, I don't think it's a case of it's just stuck in there. I think it's a case of it's been really tightened it right in there, cross-threaded it, and now it's stuck. So we're going to try and get it out. The first thing I need to do, because it's broken off below the surface, so I need to just center punch here right in the center if I can, because I don't want to go off center with the drill. So as close to the center as you can. And that's way off center, so let's see if we can move my center up. And now we're going to try and drill. There are a few problems when it comes to drilling bolts. The first thing is the bolts are tensile steel, so when you put any heat into them they become very hard, and then your drill just won't touch them. And the other thing is if you start with a smaller drill and then work your way bigger, but what keeps the drill on center is the point of the drill as you're drilling. So if there's no point then for the next drill to follow, it can wander off. Unless you're going to do it in a drill press, but obviously this bolt is stuck in the frame and I can't put the frame into the drill press, so it is difficult. It can be hit or miss. Like I say, sometimes you get it out, sometimes you'll end up just messing it up. I mean, you can always fix it, helicoil it, but it is difficult. So we're going to try. We've got a small, what's this, like a 4mm drill, I think. We're just going to try and run it down. What our hope is that once you get so far, it will actually release itself. So and that's the end of that drill. And that drill didn't touch it, look. So we're going to try it with this drill. To be honest, I could do with some new drill bits, I think. So let's see if this drill is anything. No, not touching it. This one now is the left-hand drill, so I'm just going to try to see if I can get this one to start the hole. It's having more of an effect, I suppose. It is actually taking a bit off. Gonna keep spray on it, so just some WD-40 or whatever, just to keep it cool. I'm gonna put my weight against it. This one might. This might take something out now. Nope. Also remember, when you're drilling anything, Remember, you need to wear your safety glasses. I did buy some carbide drills, so from Amazon I bought these from. So I'll try these ones. Usually the carbide is better for bolts because they are difficult to drill. If you've ever drilled a bolt, then you know how difficult it can be. So let's see if this has any more luck. Yeah, there we are. See, maybe better if I give you a better angle to see it drilling. Is it? If I can find it, there we are. There we are. And as you can see, that drills that quite nicely. Oh, okay, so we're going to drill this out now. Try and get it on centre. As you can see, that carbide drill is drilling quite nice, but make sure you keep the bolt cool. Like I said, any heat going into it will harden it, and with the high tensile steel, once it goes hard, you'll struggle. So let's keep going. Hopefully it isn't going too deep. If they cross-threaded it, then it might not be going too deep. There we are. That's the bottom, and I've broken my drill. And as you can see, I've broken my drill when it got to the bottom of the bolt, because the carbide drills are so brittle. Just snapped off. Really speaking now, I want to get the edge at the end of that bolt to the size of the inner diameter of the thread. If I put this and it's more or less central down the hole, which it should be, then that is the core diameter of the thread. So I'm trying to get the middle out. Then hopefully I can thread the hole afterwards. There's our left hand drill, so maybe I can just try and wind it out. Now there's not much left in the bottom. Well, that's not too bad actually. The bottom of the bolt now was pushed into the hole. If I can tap this now back to M8, then we should be okay. It's not a pretty job. Like I say, if push comes to shove, then I'll helicoil it. But we can try now and put an M8 tap in there, see if that'll work. So I've tapped the hole now, and that thread doesn't look too bad. But it's stopped now against there's a piece at the bottom of there's a piece of the bolt that's stuck in the bottom of the hole. So I just need to might just have to drill that bit a little bit more, I think. So all I'm trying to do now is to just get that last bit of the bolt at the bottom. So they do the tap. There we are. I don't want to go too mad just in case I snap that drill as well, because snapped one already, haven't we? So there we are. Right. Let's see if we can go a bit deeper now with this tap. and it's not the best job, I'll be honest with you. But it will work. As long as you don't snap the tap in it, and then it'll never work again. So, just be careful you don't snap the tap in it, obviously. I just want to get it deep enough so that the bolt, it'll take the bolt for the subframe that goes in, and as long as it's deep enough to hold that, you don't have to go all the way to the bottom of the hole, because you just got to have enough to hold it on. Honestly, these this kind of job. But the other thing is, are you really going to scrap an old frame off just because of this? You know, it's one of those ones, isn't it? You know, you could take the engine out and everything off, the wheels off, and put the frame in the drill press, and it'll all be, and set it up, and but these, you know, a bike in this condition is just not worth spending that much time and money on, really. If it was an old classic bike, then I'd say go ahead and do it, but not with this bike anyway. Okay. No, I might have to put a shorter bolt in there, but these are the bolts that go in. So as you can see, that goes in and it holds. You'll be able to tighten that up. And it will hold, so it's kind of as good as we're going to get with this, with the way we're doing it. So it's not a perfect job by any means. Maybe we see if we can go a little bit deeper. There we are. Right, we should be able to take our deeper now. Let's see, is it? There we are, that's better. We go a bit deeper now. So the thread is going up about that deep, I suppose. The minimum thread depth, or the minimum recommended thread depth, is the diameter of a standard thread. Anyway, the depth has got to be at least equal to the diameter. So, and like I said, that's your minimum. So this is past the minimum depth you need. Although it'd be obviously the deeper you can go, the better it is. You won't have to shorten your bolt, but I'll be happy to just get the bolt to stay in there with the subframe on it. What you don't want to do is push your luck and snap the tap. If you snap the tap and you all, that's the end of it. I mean, you can spark or road them out, but again, it would be cheaper to buy a new second-hand frame. I think that's about all we're going to get. Shall we see how far our bolt goes in? That's going to be plenty. That's going to be plenty to hold the rear subframe on. Like I say, I might have to shorten the bolt, but that'll tighten up, and that won't go anywhere. That's plenty tight enough in there. So, okay, that's one job done. The next job we need to look at is a sticking throttle. As you can see, the throttle's not returning, so when a throttle's not returning like that, it could be that the cable's rusty on the inside. Yeah, on the inside. But this one doesn't look very rusty, to be honest with you, so it could just be a case. See where the end of the grip is forced in? That could be rubbing on the end of the handlebars, and that's what's stopping it. Sometimes this part here will rub against there, and it'll stop it from returning. But with the damage on the end there, it could just be a case of this end bit, the broken end, is stopping it from returning. So we'll try and fix that. We'll try and fix that by just pulling some of this out. I think they might need to get some new grips at some point, but okay. If you can see what I mean, there's the end of the tube there. And if this part of the grip of the tube, this part of the throttle tube then, is rubbing, then that'll stop it from returning as well. But that done, it could be that it's all deformed inside in there. The other thing that it could be is that the cable is caught up somewhere and it's not free, and sometimes that'll stop it. But this is all nice, to be honest with you. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this throttle housing apart and see if we can see why it's not returning. Because obviously your throttle will stick open like that, and then you're going to have an accident. Just these two screws in the back there. Let's see if I can show you there. There's two screws in the back here. Of course these ones would be all rounded for someone doing it. These are the screws we need to get to. As you can see, all the heads are all chewed up, and somebody has thought it's a good idea to tighten them up. I don't know how they've tightened them up, but with a T-bar by the look of it. But this, it will not turn. Yes, it's a big mallet. And still, Jesus. So I'm going to try it with my centre punch and a hammer and see if I can turn them. Problem is that these screws are going to be ruined as well now. So. I think we might need to drill these out as well. I'm going to drill them out, drill the heads off them. One. Can I turn the other one now because that one's loose? Yes, thank God for that. There we are. So there we are. That's another lesson for you. Don't do your bolts up that tight. Now that the head is drilled off this, we should be able to turn it easily. Yeah, see. I can turn it with my fingers now. You don't need to do your screws up that tight, honestly. And now I gotta find a new screw for it, so there we are. So find out why this cable isn't returning. So if we zoom it back out now. So if we pull on the cable there, you can see, well, if I turn it around maybe, you can see the cable's returning there. So it's something to do with this rubbing inside this throttle tube. To take the ends of this cable out, you've got to just pull this black piece out here, and then the cable will come out there. As you can see, that's snapping, and you can hear the carb. That's snapping together nice, that is. So it's to do with all this part, with the cable rubbing and God knows what else. Maybe if I just grease this up. Don't know yet. See, with this part in there, it's tightening down on there, and it's not as good. So I think it's to do with, this piece of plastic there, because it's slow to return there. If we could, I'll try and do it for the camera. See, it's slow to return. It's not as nice as when it was just clicking back when it was just the cable. That's one way of doing it. See that when without that plastic piece in there, you can hear the carb returning. It's, you know, it's see. The good thing about it is these whole throttle things are not that expensive. That is just this piece. And obviously this must be worn and it's stopping it from returning properly. It doesn't look overly worn when you inspect it, but that's all that's causing the stickiness is this cable there. See, it's slow to, when I put that in, it's slow to return. I think what we're going to do is we're going to replace the throttle tube, replace this and the plastic bit. The cable's going to be okay because, as you can see, that's just returning nice. That is. It's just to do with this throttle body. They've seen better days anyway, so I think we need to replace them. Okay, so it's back to our pit bike. The parts have finally come. It's just like a week later for me. So we're going to fit our new throttle tube. So we take that piece off, put that on there. Okay, so then we're going to feed our cable through into our throttle. Screw that piece in like that. This bit is all full of grease, which is good. Put this bit in. That's the bit that I was fouling on the old one, so you can't buy that bit on its own, you've got to buy the whole thing. You've got to make sure that the cable is running around this groove. Okay, try again. So the cable there, so we push that down now, and that cable is in the groove of the plastic bit. So it's returning nice and snappy. Now we need to get our throttle tube itself. Don't fall out, which I dropped. We need to put that nipple then through the hole on there, so we're gonna push that in like that, and then the cable have come out of this black bit there, so that's okay. Then we're going to slide the throttle tube on to there like that, and then we're going to screw this bit on like that, and hopefully our throttle will snap closed. Just one thing to be careful of when you fit these throttle tubes: if you push that on too far and the end of the grip is running against the handlebars, that'll stop it from returning. So just make sure that it's not, well, when you get it all reassembled, just make sure it's snapping back as it should, because you don't want a sticky throttle. There we are, see? Much better. You want about 10mm free play. So if you look at the mark there in line with that, and before it starts pulling the cable, you want it to move about 10mm. That's maybe maybe a bit much that, but we can open it all the way up. So if you haven't got that free play, then it could jam open. So that's exactly how we want it. So let's tighten that up now on the bars, and then snaps back shut. That's perfect. We need to change the inner tube on this front tyre, so we're just going to take the take this wheel off. I'm not sure who owned this bike, but they like tightening things up a lot. Undo that nut, figure the nut all the way to the end, past the end of the bolt, and then when you can tap it down and you don't damage the end of the thread, because if it was stiff then it wouldn't and it might damage the end of the thread. So now we know it's loose, we can just give it a tap and pull it out. Right, we're going to change this inner tube. Because it's punctured, basically, and it's such a potch to fix the inner tubes. It can be a bit hit or miss sometimes. I don't know if you've ever changed, if you ever put a patch on an inner tube, you'll know what I mean. Some you win, some you don't, so I usually just change inner tubes. This one, they used to be a lot cheaper than they are nowadays, mine. This one was £10. When we used to sell them, they were more like a £5, but okay. 17-inch inner tube. Right, the easiest way, or the best way to change an inner tube, how do I say? The best way to change the inner tube, take the tyre off, is to use proper tyre levers. I got a couple of different types. These ones are my favourite. If you can get these ones. Don't use screwdrivers because you'll end up puncturing the tube. These ones, if you've got an aluminium rim, sometimes these ribs there can damage the aluminium rib. So I don't like using these ones usually, but I can only find one of these at the moment. So these are the best ones, definitely. These spoon type. So you wanna get the bead into the rim all the way around, and then it'll make it easier to just push that out. So the same again and with another one. See, like I said, you know, those ones I don't find very good. So we'll see if it's a bit easier with this one. Not really. Come a bit closer. Use the flat end perhaps. Yeah, see, this is why I don't like these ones particularly. They do work, but they are harder to use for whatever reason. You just want to, perhaps I can get that arm out the way and you can see what I'm doing. I just want to work your way around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to that one in there, take this one back out, and I know what I'm doing now. Okay, So it'll be easier with this one, you'll see now. So you put that one in and it's much easier. They're the ones to use. So you just want to go all the way around now. Take the bead off, out one side all the way around. Like so. Look at that now. Bear with me, bear with me. Okay. So we've taken the nuts off the valve. So we're going to pull the valve out first, and then, I don't know if you can see, pull the valve out first and then pull the inner tube out. All the way around and throw it in the bin. Right, new inner tube time. The best way to do it that I've found, and I have changed a lot of these, the best way to do it is to not put any air in it, and then what you do is when you put it in, you wrap the tyre around the bottom, you wrap the inner tube around the bottom of the tyre, and then it's out of the way when you flip the bead back on. Some people will inflate it and things, and I've tried loads of different ways. The way I find best is to put it in as flat as possible, get every bit of air out of it, and then put the tyre in so that it's flat against the bottom of the tyre. It's really difficult to show you, but keep it flat. You want to put the valve in first. So if I move around, maybe you can see a bit better. Put the valve in first. If I can find the hole again, there it is. Okay. Right, I'm going to go back a step. Check the inside of the tyre all the way round to make sure that there's nothing sharp in the tyre itself. That's the first thing. Okay, so there's nothing in there, because it could, whatever puncture there could still be in there. The next thing you want to do is you want to check around the rim to make sure that there's no spokes or sharp edges sticking through. Okay, so that's all okay. So we want to find the valve again, and we're going to put the valve in first. And this is usually the hardest part. I can't really show you a lot, but especially on this is like a, what's this? It's a thin tyre. What's this? 117. So it's not very deep there, so you can't. It's not deep, very deep there. There, whatever. Can't see because of my hands. So you can't really get your big fat fingers in it like me, so, but if you can, get the valve through into the hole first, like that, and then before you go any further, put one of the nuts on it to stop it from coming back out. There we are. Okay, so now we want to feed the inner tube around and put the inner tube flat on the bottom of the tyre. So if you can see what I'm doing there, I'm pushing it in, and I'll fold it this way, and then push the top around into the back of the tyre. So like this, like this, and fold it round, back up to the valve, fold that around. Now, I'm trying to get this here. If you can see there, the inner tube is folded around the bottom of the tyre, so it's nowhere near this top bead. The valve is in, so we just need to put a bit of soap around here now to make sure that the tyre blows out onto the rim. So I'm only going to just put a little bit. This is washing up liquid. There's only just a little bit of slipperiness, just so that it rides up and the bead seats on the wheel. That's what it's for. If you haven't got tyre soap, like I haven't at the moment, just use some washing up liquid. Right, okay, so then we're just going to put the tyre back in. Now this is the part, if you've got a screwdriver with sharp edges, when you pull the tyre over, it'll dig it. If it's going to catch, it'll dig into the inner tube and puncture it. That's why these these are called spoons, tyre levers, whatever. It's always easy until you get to the last bit. But what you've just got to make sure of is that the bead is in the centre there of the wheel, not up on this part. If it's in the centre of the wheel, it'll move over more. So we just want to push the bead into the centre of the wheel, and it makes it easier to get the last bit in there. And there we are, all done. So I'm going to take this little nut that came with the inner tube back off, because I'm going to put one of the older ones, because they were the bigger ones. Right, now some people say you do this nut all the way up to the wheel, and then it stops, and then it stops the inner tube from moving. I was always taught that after you blowed it up, obviously, but when you put the dust cap back on, then you do the nut up against the dust cap. The reason for that is that inner tube can move a little bit now without ripping off the valve. So if you look at your, this is a front wheel, so it's not as bad as the back wheel, but that inner tube now got a little bit of room to move. If you bolt that down solid to the wheel and the inner tube moves a bit, it'll just rip the valve stem out of the inner tube, and that's it. It's a new inner tube anyway. So this is how I was always taught to do it, was to tighten the nut. Now leave in the comments if you've got different experiences with different ways of doing it. Obviously it's open to interpretation. Lots of different people do it lots of different ways. I was taught that way, and there's no reason not to do it that way, to do it the other way, but like I said, it's personal preference. So that's changing the inner tube. We've just got to put that wheel back on now. Pump it up first. We've just got to pump that tyre up now and then put it back on the bike. The last thing to remember once you've pumped your tyre up is to check that the bead is equal to the rim all the way round. So you were checking to make sure that the tyre is not still stuck in. So you check the bead all the way round to make sure it's equal, the beads to the rim, both sides. And then, because if it's not out on the rim properly, you'll have a bump in your tyre. You'll be riding down the road and it'll be bumpy, and it's because it's not sat in the rim properly. So just remember to check that before you put it back on then. The next thing that the customer wants done on his bike is we want me to have a look at the brake. They said the brake ain't working. I have had a look at it, and I can see why the brake ain't working, which I'll show to you now. So take the brake caliper off. Just need to undo these two bolts here, like this, and then you take it off like this to change your brake caliper. Your brake pads. Right, and then you pull the brake caliper off the disc like this. So the customer wonders why his front brake is not working. So if you can see in there, there's no inside pad in there at all, and the piston has come so far out. At some point he's been braking on the piston on the disc. Luckily the disc is not too badly scored, but the piston the inner brake pad has worn through completely, or fallen out even. But if it's fallen out, then they would have had to take it off for it to fall out. So I don't know if they have taken it off, it fell out and they've put it back on without it. Anyway, that piston has come so far out now that all the brake fluid has gone from the system, and they've worn away the front of that piston. So the best thing to do in this situation is to replace the whole brake system. You can't buy, or I'm not aware of you being able to buy the pistons separate. Certainly they're not listed on the website where I buy them from. So it's a case of this whole brake caliper now is going to have to be replaced. They sell the complete system, which comes with the master cylinder and the brake caliper, and everything's included to just slide it on, bolt it up, and away to go. So that's I'm afraid is where we are going with it. There's no other way to do it, but it is just a case of taking this out from between the pads, as they put that piece of plastic in there to stop the piston coming all the way forward. So you just remove this piece of plastic. You might need to press the piston back a little bit with like a flat bladed screwdriver or something. Let's just grab one. So get a flat bladed screwdriver and just prise between the pads. Try not to mark the pads very carefully, and then you can try and take that piece of plastic out. Now there's a piece of plastic now as well in the brake lead. You've had to stop that from pressing the piston any further as well. So we'll take that out, and then you can take the piece of plastic out of there. Now if this goes, it'll go over the brake disc. See, that inner pad fell out then when I tried to put it back in. So I wondered if somebody has taken it off, the pads fell out and they not realised and put it back on without this. So it could well be the case. Take my gloves off. Okay, so we'll try again with that. If this goes over the disc, which it does, then it's just a matter of lining up the bolt holes and putting these bolts back in. One and two. With that, I'm just going to tighten these bolts up to tighten the caliper on. To take the old brake caliper line off, you just undo the screws there and undo the screws there, and then you fit the master cylinder onto the handlebars. You know, that part of it's very simple. So we come around, and then we just undo these two bolts, fit it on, and then that's it. So that's it for this video. I'm just going to put the plastics back on this bike and get it back to the customer. Hopefully you liked the video. If you did like it, please hit the like button. It doesn't cost you anything, but it means a great deal to me. Comment if you want to see anything else, or if you agree or disagree with anything I've done. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Have a nice day.